Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Eternally Disappointed podcast. My name is Anthony, and I'm just happy for anybody to be joining me. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while. I initially had the idea to do it back when I owned a gym, but now I'm looking more towards doing this podcast and trying to get in touch with other podcasters and hopefully be able to talk sports, UFC, and some other things that are going on. Primarily, what we're going to do on this channel is talk about the Buffalo Bills because I started rooting for the Bills in 1992, and every year I'm disappointed. And especially recently, has it become a point of me being very frustrated because a lot of people have kind of gotten on this bandwagon of Buffalo being a really good team, Josh Allen being a top five quarterback, this and that. And I'll be the first to tell you, I do not think Josh Allen is a top five quarterback. I think he's an uber talented player that makes a ton of mistakes and bad decisions that eventually cost the team. He reads the field back to front. He doesn't protect the ball when he runs. He has, I believe, the most turnovers in the last 3 years, combining fumbles and interceptions. And you're just not going to win a championship that way. A lot of people like to talk about Sean McDermott as a good coach. I think he has an uber talented team, and I think an uber talented team that can win. All right, we're having some technical issues, but we're back up and running. So, first thing I want to talk about today is we'll go over the Thursday night game with the Chiefs and the Lions. I never take the first 4 weeks of the season seriously anyway, because a lot of things are being worked out, a lot of things are being tried. The first 4 games, it's not that they don't matter with your record, but there's a lot of trial and error. And as the season develops, you'd like to see teams get back into what they like to do best and what's going to make them successful and put them in a position to succeed. That being said, there are idiots like Nick Wright and the people on First Things First and the people on First Take or Speak for Yourself or Undisputed that say that this showed that the Chiefs need Chris Jones. The Lions scored 14 points. They got a pick 6, which is how they ended up getting 21. So I don't understand how a team can score 14 points, and you're going to come out here and you're going to say, oh, well, they really needed Chris Jones. Yeah, they would have won, but they needed more help scoring points, not dropping passes. And what is ridiculous is that it's no matter what happened in the game, the narrative was going to be that the Chiefs needed Chris Jones. They could have gone out there and won 45-42, and they were like, well, they gave up 42 to the Lions and need Chris Jones. Or they could have beaten 42-3, and they still would have said how they needed Chris Jones. So the bullshit narratives need to stop. It's nonsense. I'm not saying they don't need him. He's a super good player. He's probably the second best D tackle in the league. But to give up 14 points on defense and then sit there and turn around and say they need this guy, no, that's not what they needed. They did need Travis Kelce to be healthy. I don't understand how a guy has a bad knee and he's going to stand on the sidelines for 5 hours of a game, and that's going to help his knee. Like, if I stood on the sideline of a football game from 2 hours before it started through the whole game plus halftime, my knees would be sore, and I have good knees. So I don't understand why teams do that. Just let the guy sit upstairs or let him stay home and rest, because rest is the most important thing when you're trying to recover from a knee injury like that. So congratulations to the Lions. I didn't think that they were going to be ready. This kind of reminded me of when the Chiefs were up and coming right before they got Mahomes, and they opened the season against New England, and they put an ass whooping on them. I didn't think the Lions were ready to take this step yet. I think that they're 1 year removed from being the team that is going to be really solid. One of the things that they got smart about is they realized that Goff, when he's not under pressure, is a really solid player. So instead of investing in superstar wide receivers, they invested in a good offensive line, and that paid off because he can have mediocre to good but competent receivers like St. Brown. I don't think St. Brown is super good, but he's a really good NFL receiver. Or he's not a really good NFL receiver. He's obviously an awesome wide receiver because he's playing the NFL. But he's, like, to me, average to slightly above average. But Goff doesn't need that because he just needs to be protected. Or if you look at a guy like Burrow is the kind of guy that he doesn't really fold under pressure. So you can load him up with receivers and give him a halfway decent line, and I'll be successful that way. And it just comes down to coaching. There's a lot of times where players are just put in a bad position or a position to not succeed because their coaches don't understand what helps them shine the brightest. So congratulations to the Lions. I think that if both teams were at 100%, the Chiefs would have walked away with the victory. But nonetheless, it is what it is. It played out the way it did. I'm interested to see how things go when the Chiefs go to Jacksonville, and I'm interested to see if the Lions get better as the season goes on because they were in a position where they could have scored a lot more points. Can't fumble in the red zone, man. You can't have fumbles in the red zone. That could have turned the game around, but luckily for them, it didn't. So Monday night, we've got the Bills and the Jets, and obviously the Bills is a big reason why I'm doing this podcast. I don't have the same faith in Buffalo that a lot of people have. I think that the sports world is sitting around looking for people to be the next Tom Brady, be the next Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and they're trying to throw Josh Allen in there. And I just don't think Josh Allen is that guy. I think he's super talented. I think he's a really good football quarterback. I think that he makes a lot of really stupid decisions that make me want to throw the remote through my TV. You can't fumble the ball under center twice in one season, costing your team 2 games. You can't be the guy that makes the same mistakes in year 5 that you do in year 1. And he really is. He throws way too many interceptions. He doesn't do enough to protect the ball or make the smart decisions. And I tell my son all the time, if you throw the ball 2 yards and the guy runs it 18 more, or you throw it 20 and the guy's tackled right away, but it was a harder throw and a harder catch, what's the difference? Take the check down, take the easy play. Mahomes and Allen are probably 10 times more talented than Tom Brady ever was, but they just make so many more bad decisions because they think that their athleticism and talent can make up for making bad decisions, and sometimes they can't. Like the NFL, you can't get away with that stuff. So on the flip side, you've got Rodgers going to the Jets. Rodgers is not the same quarterback he was a few years ago. I think last year he struggled a lot, but I will say this about Rodgers. I think he was in Green Bay for a little bit too long. I think that so many years having a bottom 5 defense and lack of solid weapons besides Devontae Adams kind of got him to the point last year where Christian Watson drops a pass and Rodgers just gets a case of the fuck yous. He's just like, you know what, I'm just going to check out of this and kind of not care. I think he's got an incredible defense. Salah's a good coach, and he's got some decent weapons around him. I don't know about bringing Lazard and Cobb over just except for rapport, but I think Mecole Hardman is going to give Buffalo problems when he's in the game because he has more speed than their defense has, which Tyreek Hill exposed. And the one thing I'll say about the Jets, I'm interested to see how their season goes. I am going to be kind of rooting for them as well. It'll be nice to see Rodgers get a second Super Bowl. I always say that defensive-minded head coaches aren't going to win you a championship unless you have a generational talent like a Brady or a Manning. So if you look at the past Super Bowl winners, you look at last year with Reed, you look at the year before with McVay, you look at the year before that with Arians, the year before that with Reed. It's all offensive-minded quarterbacks. The defensive-minded quarterbacks like Bill Belichick or Tony Dungy, they had Manning and they had Brady. So if you have a defensive-minded quarterback like a Mike Vrabel, it's going to be tough for you to win because you're not focused on the offense. And I like Tannehill, but Tannehill's not a generational talent. Saleh has that now. Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach that has an Aaron Rodgers. At the twilight of his career, I'll give him that. But he's got a chance to go out and really put that team in a position to make a lot of noise. Will they? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting game. A lot of people think that Buffalo is going to walk all over them. I don't. I'd be surprised if they do. I think that Buffalo is going to make a lot of mistakes. I think the defense is going to frustrate them. I think Allen's going to make bad decisions, and that's going to piss off Diggs. And it's going to be a rough game anyway because it's the first one of the season, and usually it's very, very rusty. Once again, I don't take much stock in the first 4 weeks of the season, but we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how the game goes, but I'm not expecting to be blown away by Buffalo the same way. Everybody but me was blown away last year, week 1. Last year, week 1, they run in there and they roll the Rams, and I'm sitting here saying they had 4 turnovers. You can't have 4 turnovers and be successful in this league. So maybe you had 4 turnovers and 1 against a bad team, but now when you go against the teams They can put up points against your defense, like Miami, or the teams that can stop you, like a Cincinnati at home in the playoffs, or Miami at home in the playoffs with their third string quarterback. Like, what are we doing here? But what that comes down to is bad coaching, bad fundamentals, and just bad decision making by the team. So I think it's going to be a close game. Bills will probably pull it out, but I'm not expecting much from them. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm going to eat my words. Also, tonight is UFC 293. I'm a little bit pissed that they're not starting on Australian time. I was hoping they would, so I could watch it during the day. I kind of said this in the intro video. I don't think the UFC planned on Israel beating Pereira the second time they fought in the UFC. So I think that this card was put together where they kind of had an arena but no show, and it was thrown together a little bit at the last minute. This isn't a card that I would order. This is a card that I'll just follow. I don't think, they wanted Duplessis to go and fight Izzy, but Duplessis fought 6 weeks ago. He probably got banged up. Even though he beat Whitaker, a fight with Whitaker, you're not going to walk out unscathed. So that's a little bit of an issue that they could have had. But I think that Izzy's got 5 rounds. The first round is going to be just touching and feeling, touching and feeling, touching and feeling. A little bit of jabbing, kicking, picking up on reads. And I think he finishes Strickland somewhere in the late second or early third. I don't think Strickland is going to take it. I respect Strickland, but he also got dropped by Kamaru Usman at 170. If he gets cracked by Izzy, he's going to get it. And the way that he seems to fight and seems to train, once again, it's the Josh Allen thing. Strickland's a talented guy. I don't think he pays attention to practice, and I think that he just kind of does trial and error. Go to spar, see what works in sparring, see what works in sparring, see what works in sparring. And I don't know, his main sparring partner is a foot shorter than Izzy, so that's not going to help him out either. We'll see how it goes. I'm just interested because it's a weird matchup, but like I said, I'm picking Izzy in the late second or early third with the finish. Besides that, I really don't have any opinion about the card. I know Tyson Pedro, I think, is on the card. Taito Ivasa is on the card, but I don't see anyone on that card really that's going to be big up-and-comers coming anytime soon. So that wraps up episode 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope that we can get some subscribers to this channel. I hope we can get some callers when I get that software set up. And I appreciate y'all being with me. Until next time, which will be probably tomorrow or Monday, a post-game analysis. Buffalo's game is Monday, so Tuesday post-game analysis. Till then, I'll see you later.